Good morning, everyone. We have a beautiful day today for a wonderful announcement. And I am extremely excited about this, as are many other people. And the past few days have been really busy with Juneteenth celebrations in Lexington. It's been a great weekend, a great series of events. Chief Weathers, glad to see you here always. We've had the Juneteenth Jubilee, the Soulteenth, a festival celebration, and much, much more. And I'm so proud of our city for celebrating this important date in our history. Today, the federal holiday for Juneteenth, we come with news of a partnership that's bringing Fayette County's historical records of enslaved people to the digital age. This is big news for our community. As I've said over the past 2 years, we've learned a lot through COVID-19, protests and economic swings about the power of partnerships. I'm so proud the city is a part of the Digital Access Project, along with partners like the Fayette County Clerk, UK's Commonwealth Institute of Black Studies, the Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative, Bluegrass Community Foundation, and the Knight Foundation. This is a big partnership. This project will allow easier access for the general public to gain insight and information about those who were enslaved in Fayette County. By putting these historical documents online, it will be possible for anyone around the world to learn about our city's history. When added to the work of historians who have painstakingly gone through the records of our past, we will be able to remember the lives and legacies of enslaved people in Fayette County. We've made great progress in our city, but we always know there's more work to do. We're dedicated to doing that work, especially when it comes to equality and justice. I believe this project is another milestone of moving forward. By telling the stories in our history, we can learn and do better. Now it is my great honor to introduce Dr. VANESSA Holden with the University of Kentucky Commonwealth Institute of Black Studies. Welcome, Dr. Holden.
Welcome. Good morning. I'd like to begin with the words of formerly enslaved people from our region. Quote, "I wish to find my mother, Fanny Roman. She formerly lived in Lexington, Kentucky. I was sold from her when I was 5 years old, and now I'm 40. Fanny Roman, The Appeal, Chicago, Illinois, August 6, 1892. Quote, information wanted of Mariah Branch, who left Lexington, Kentucky in company with Emma Tyler. Her husband, Benjamin Branch, will be glad to learn where she is. Benjamin Branch, The Colored Citizen, Cincinnati, Ohio, May 19th, 1866. Each of these quotes from information wanted ads seeking kin lost in the internal slave trade speak to a legacy of community memory keeping, while enslavers, slave jailers, the smiths who fashioned shackles, the insurance companies that insured slave coffles, the bankers and clerks who recorded property exchanges, and the web of economic and social connections that made the business of slavery hum, may not remember the individuals who were enslaved. Their kin and their communities remembered, and they searched. A significant part of our legacy as African Americans is memory keeping. And that's what Juneteenth is, a day of remembrance and a day of celebration, a day to grieve the reality of slavery's injustice and to fortify hope for a more just future. The project we're announcing today on the site of one of the most important slave markets in the United States then is part of a long tradition of memory keeping, community curation, and intentional preservation. The Digital Access Project, or DAP for short, is the result of a couple of years of careful planning and collaboration that brings together partners from the University of Kentucky, the Lexington and Fayette County communities to digitize Fayette County's earliest property records. The deed books we will focus on contain complex handwritten property records from the earliest days of Kentucky statehood through the era of emancipation in the 1860s. This summer, our inaugural class of digitization interns, made up of both UK graduates and graduate students, are gaining valuable experience in these precious and well-kept records while developing best practices for future classes of interns with the project. Soon, instead of taking a trip down to the clerk's office in person to search these records, the public will be able to search and view high-quality scans of documents including wills, deeds, and bills of sale. Our hope is to expand this digitization project by launching a transcription effort that will greatly increase the accessibility to these documents. Soon, we hope to include even more community members in the process of preserving these very important documents and in the process of excavating the important histories of individual enslaved people in case they're in. I'd like to extend a special thanks to Lisa Higgins-Horde, the University of Kentucky's Assistant Vice President for Community Engagement, who helped connect scholars at UK with our wonderful community partners, and for providing funding for this project. I'd like to thank Catherine Newfont, one of my colleagues whose work with undergraduate students at UK really laid the groundwork for and has helped guide this current digitization effort. My colleague Amy Murrell-Taylor, who has graciously stepped up to co-organize our UK scholarly team with me. Anastasia Kerwood, the current director of the Commonwealth Institute for Black Studies and African American and Africana Studies at UK. To our wonderful team of scholars and to our inaugural class of interns, one of whom at least is here this morning to celebrate with us. Our work together honors those enslaved people bought and sold right here, those who were torn away from kith and kin, and their descendants who, after emancipation, kept searching and kept looking for them. We're carrying that work on as a new generation and really inheriting a legacy of community history making and keeping. Now, I have the honor and privilege to introduce SHEA Brown, Deputy County Clerk. He's directly supervising our interns this summer while wrangling a new digital record system that he'll tell you about. She's been an incredible resource and guide to our project. Please welcome SHEA Brown.
Kentucky County Court clerk records will show that during the late 1700s to the end of 1865, Kentucky was known for some of the most inhumane, cruel, and dark moments of slavery ever recorded in any given time period history. Over 80 years, Kentucky County Court clerk records will show and reveal that black humans were classified as personal property and therefore were sold, transferred, conveyed, auctioned off, mortgaged as security, appraised as inventory, and even bestowed to another person as a gift upon a testator's death in a last will and testament. Over 80 years, black humans were classified as personal property in the same category as if the human was actually a house, a car, a piece of furniture, clothing, horse or cattle, or some other type of animal. Take a field trip to the Fayette County Clerk's office, located at 162 East Main, Lexington, Kentucky. during normal business hours. And there you will find deed records identifying names of slaves who were sold and purchased or even emancipated. You will find deed mortgage records of slaves who were used as collateral to secure a debt. You will find wills, estate appraisements, settlements, inventory, or other probate records to see those slaves who were listed in a deceased person's estate. And you also see separate white and black marriage records up until around 1958. My name is SHEA Brown, Special Projects Deputy Clerk, employed for over 22 years at the Land Records Department of Fayette County Clerk's Office. Here under the leadership of our County Clerk, Donald W. Blevins Jr., the County Clerk's Office have partnered with Bluegrass Community Foundation, University of Kentucky Commonwealth Institute of Black Studies, Knights Foundation, Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative to engage in a major project here at the County Clerk's Office called DAP to digitize our earliest records from 1780s to 1865 by making these records technologically accessible online to the general public. I also like to thank my colleagues from Lexport, Alyssa Allier of the Kentucky Historical Society, Betty Kerr at Lexington Historical Society, Lynn Imogen for providing a wealth of services towards this project. On May the 23rd, 2022, we kicked off this project by digitizing our first indexed book to deeds and mortgages. This project will continue until a total of 137 books identified as deeds, wills, burnt records, along with their indexes, are all digitized. This process of digitization project involves scanning approximately 61,242 pages from archival types of books. You know, those old heavy, dusty, hard to read, cursive, colonial style books. And because we're gonna scan every page associated with these books, don't think that this project can be completed overnight, because the overall process of this project does require patience, persistence, precision, and professional care in order for us to get the best possible digitized images available for the general public's viewing. This project will provide the public with visibility and access digitally to information found in these books. This project will provide an opportunity for the public to utilize these digital records to explore effective cultural enrichment conversations for establishing racial reconciliation and to gain exposure to the history surrounding racial barriers. And finally, this project will also help to educate and enlighten the public on the current growing concerns associated with racial injustice and inequality. Thank you for your time today, and please encourage the completion of this project. I now introduce our next speaker, Mr. DeBron Thomas, a community leader, co-founder of Take Back Cheapside, and board member of the Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative.
I didn't realize I was going to have to follow that. Well, good morning. This is an absolutely glorious day. For years, when I was doing research leading up to what would become Take Back Cheapside, I was told by many people these records were burned, they were destroyed, they don't exist. They were lost to time, just like many other things of black history in Lexington. Well, I am so glad to tell you that those lies that were told to me were exactly what they were. Lies. The truth is, the names, the families of all of the people sold formerly at Cheapside, they have lives. They had lovers. They had people who cared about them, and now we will finally know their names. After generations of hiding behind history and not telling the truth, we finally have an opportunity to truly bring our community together. When Russell Allen and I first started Take Back Cheapside, we had a 3-point plan. One was to remove the Confederate monuments located at the formerly Cheapside Park. The second was to bring back the historical marker, which is sitting over there. Third was to open up a community dialogue to focus on how we can make not just this space, but our city more inclusive. And that starts with healing. It's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. And while Lexington has not always gotten it right every step of the way, we have an opportunity right now as a community to help right the wrongs of the past. We have an opportunity to come together for a common good and uplift the stories of those who are unable to tell their own. We've all heard some exaggerated or true story from the history of Cheapside. Well, now we have an opportunity to truly explore the actual facts, the actual truth, and uplift the lives of those who have for generations been unable to speak. And I'm sure, as many people have done during the pandemic, I started trying to research my own history, my own family history, and every once in a while we would come into roadblocks, and I kept thinking about all of the people who didn't even have as much information as I had. And now we have an opportunity to truly do this in a way that is going to be intentional, empathetic, and as SHEA said, there's a lot of intentionality behind this. So I am incredibly honored to be part of this project. I'd like to thank the co-founder of Take Back Cheapside, Russell Allen, along with Lisa Atkins from the Bluegrass Community Foundation and the rest of my partners on the Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative. This is an incredibly historic moment, so do not take this lightly. We are starting today something that will be around for generations. And hopefully, there's another person like myself who wanted to learn about the history of this city, who wanted to learn about the history of its people. They will not be lied to again, and will be shown that those people were real, and they deserve respect. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce someone for whom, without her, none of this work, especially on my end, would be possible, Dr. Yvonne Giles.
Thank you. I am very glad that this project is underway and will be completed with patience, diligence, and close attention to what is in those records. I've been in and out of the courthouse, county clerk's office for 21 years. And I can absolutely confirm what has been said, DeBron. We were told there is no history of blacks. You won't find your family. And it absolutely is not true. I've found 4 surname generations of my family in the deed records. Patience. You start with what you know, you go backward. If they owned any property, that is a deed. That deed references every time that property has been sold. So you start with that deed and you read all the way back until the beginning. My first family that I found was maternal, and I just screamed. Everybody in that room looked at me as, what's wrong with her? I said, come over here, read this to me. I want to make sure that I got it right. In that particular document of 1842, my family was named. I had a slave owner. I had the mother and all of her children. There was a record, there were ages, there were descriptions. So I knew that's me. That's my family. I did this with another family here in Kentucky, here in Lexington. They were enslaved out in Athens. And I picked that information up from having had a pension record for a United States colored troop veteran who was in my family. In order to get his pension, he had to have deposition from everyone he knew that was still alive. And one of the sisters told, I figured she was the big mouth in the family, she told, yeah, we were enslaved on Mr. So-and-so's farm out in Athens. Head straight back to the county clerk's office, pulled his will and his settlement, and there they were. Those records have existed from the time this state came into being. It's just that most people don't know that that's where you start. So having these records digitized will help someone who only does internet, doesn't want to come into the county clerk's office and handle those big old dusty books that I've had. I learned not to wear anything white, absolutely nothing white, and don't hold them up against you. And I've had told the people, SHEA and other folks in the county clerk's office, that when I need a wheelchair, I'm in a wheelchair and I roll in here, they're going to have to get the books down for me. I think they're doing this to keep me from doing that. I know they know I was serious. I was coming in there in the wheelchair if I had to. So I'm so pleased. Pam Brenniger, I saw her earlier. Pam, where are you? There she is. Pam is a great genealogist, researcher, and she and I have commiserated over the conditions of the books and how long it has taken us to track down information. So now, with the digitization project, we won't have to spend hours in the county clerk's office. I'm sure they're going to miss us, Pam. We'll have to make a date to come visit them. But this is just, it's just a project that I did not ever consider would happen, but I am glad I'm still here to see it. I hope I'm around when it's finished, because I'm going to continue to use it. Everything, every African American who lived in this community has record. They have track information. You just need to know where to look and give yourself the time and the patience to find it. I have never been disappointed when I go to the county clerk's office. Thank you.
Because of the commitment of Bluegrass Community Foundation and its board of directors, this project and the generosity of our partners, the Knight Foundation Donor Advised Fund at Bluegrass Community Foundation and the Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative, I'm pleased to announce that the Community Foundation is making $85,000 in seed funding available to make the Digital Access Project Partnership a reality. I'm Lisa Adkins with Bluegrass Community Foundation. I'd also like to recognize Councilmember Hannah Legris, thanks for being here, Lisa Higgins-Horde, who's the co-chair of the Lexington Black Prosperity Initiative, and Russell Allen, who's a member, along with DeBron Thomas behind me. This funding will help tell the stories of people whose names for too long have been in the dark. Our community is shaped and defined by the stories we tell ourselves and each other. For decades on this site, we were told the stories of so-called Confederate heroes, but civic leaders and a coalition of truth tellers decided it was time to reimagine Lexington's story. The Digital Access Project Partnership is one of the tangible outcomes of an earlier collaboration convened by the Community Foundation called Reimagining Cheapside, a partnership of the City of Lexington, Take Back Cheapside, and the Community Foundation. It began shortly after the removal of the Confederate statues from this square. The initiative used a year-long community engagement process to examine how we could make Cheapside Park, now Tandy Park, and the old courthouse square more welcoming and inclusive, while more fully telling the story as one of the Southeast's largest slave auction sites. As we've learned, the project will ensure the records of Fayette County's enslaved people have increased public accessibility, are available online free of charge, and will gain important historical context. The project is off to a strong start, but more volunteers and funding will be needed as SHEA and his team at the county clerk's office digitize 137 deed and probate books, and our team of University of Kentucky scholars begin the arduous work of transcribing the records and providing programming and context. We welcome the entire community, individuals, businesses, philanthropists, and foundations to join us. If interested in becoming a funding partner, just contact me at the Community Foundation. The story we are telling here today is about creating a more generous, vibrant, engaged, and equitable community. That's the mission of Bluegrass Community Foundation and why I am so honored to help advance the work of all these good people and this project. Happy Juneteenth to everyone, and thanks to all of you for being with us here today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.